Hi, it's Mark Rushton of markrushton.com. Why artists shouldn't bother with grants. It's Monday, December 14th, 2020. And where I am, the trees are still coated with snow. We haven't had enough wind to knock them off. And it's not been warm enough to melt. In a few days, it will be warm enough to melt. But very, very pretty. And I'm tired of it. When we got the snow a couple days ago, I guess it was about 2.5 days ago, it was super wet. I mean, I was like, I think we got about 4 inches of snow, and I was just kind of shoveling the driveway, and it weighed a ton. And so we have a rock driveway, so I just use a roof rake to kind of move it a little bit. It's, you don't have to shovel it that perfect. But it was just, I got the workout, right? So I did like a lane and a half for the cars. And then so I didn't do everything because we really needed to get one car out, and the other one I could get out if I needed to. So today I kind of went through just a little bit ago and kind of shoveled the rest, and all the moisture was gone. It was super light and kind of fluffy. It's really weird. Like all the, it's been clear at night, so that just draws that moisture up into the atmosphere. Kind of interesting how that works. Wet snow to dry snow. Just add a clear sky. All right. So I'm like, now I'm like, get this tiredness. I need to go get a Dr. Pepper or something, I guess. I don't know. Prepper. I'm worth $1 million in prizes. Yeah, I drive a GTO. I wear a uniform, all on a government loan. Yeah, why artists shouldn't bother with grants. And so this is sort of my take on things over the years of kind of being exposed to the grant world here and there. And this is for artists and musicians based on my experience. And I would say don't even bother with it. Don't even bother with it unless there are caveats here. And I'll go through that here as I talk about this sort of stuff here. But yeah, this idea, particularly when people start off as an artist or a fine artist or a musician, or they get involved in some sort of thing in the community, there's particularly in artistic areas, there's this idea, well, maybe we could get a grant, right? Maybe we could get a grant. And that sounds great until you try to get a grant. It's a nightmare. Unless it's like an easy one, right? If it's an easy grant, or if you know the people involved, or it's you've got a professional grant writer working on your behalf, then okay. But don't rely on it. There are things that painters, fine artists, and musicians, I'm going to use the word artist here to kind of encompass everything, that artists should do to just don't be thinking about grants. Just don't think about it. You might as well go get a job delivering pizzas on the weekend, because that's easier way to make more money. Or do security guard work in empty buildings part-time. Something like that. It's much easier. It's much easier to go get a part-time job and just earn the money that you were going to do for whatever, rather than the amount of time and stress and everything. So I'm going to talk about my past with this. But in certain situations, it's perfectly okay. Perfectly okay to give that a shot. But in other cases, it's not so good. So let's talk about some good things here. Of course, whenever anybody is involved with like a nonprofit or something like that, or they want to start a nonprofit, they may not necessarily know what they're getting into. They may think, well, I'll start a nonprofit for whatever purpose that you want that's music or art related. Because there's all these books out there or these things online where there's all the billions of dollars doesn't get claimed for the grant money, just sits there. No one wants it. Really? And so people get ideas and they're like, oh, I'll start a nonprofit. And the amount of work just getting a 501c3 started is more than you think. It's more than you think. And then, of course, every year you have to file paperwork. And oh, did you know that? Did you know that? And then there's other things too that are related to that. They're just like, you read these things and they'll say, you know, the National Endowment for the Arts or the National Endowment for the Huge Manatees or whatever it is. And I have applied. I've applied for NEA grants in the past. And yeah, it was about 10 years ago. It was no picnic. And I can't imagine that it's any better today. And so unless you are, again, if you do this for a living, like if you work, if that's your career and you work in the nonprofit sector or you work for a university or something like that, and you have relationships with the people to a certain degree, to the people that are doling out the grants, maybe it might be worth it, right? But if you're not, if you're just Joe Schmo on the street with an idea, you're going nowhere. You are likely going nowhere. Don't waste your time. Go deliver some pizzas. Go fill out some surveys online. Just make the money that way. Better yet, make more paintings, make more music, and get it out there and work your catalog. You'll be better off in the long run. Trust me. So the thing that we at the literary magazine that we were trying to get just some funding from the National Endowment of the Arts, and the website alone for the application process and going through and trying to figure out which sort of thing to apply for was mind-boggling. And then all the rules, and then all the different websites, and it was as arcane as you can imagine. And I can't imagine that it's any better today, because you know how the government is, slow on the draw. And the thing about, and I will complain about this forever, at the time, they would come out with all this these flashy things and then saying, oh, hey, we're looking for new media, right? New media, podcasts, that sort of stuff. And you know, our podcast had been out for a number of years and it done pretty well. It was in a specific type of genre, and nonprofit, 501c3. We had gotten an award from Google Grants for in-kind advertising. Is that how you say that? In-kind advertising? Advertising, right? And so we had one little win under our belt, right? But then you go in and you see who wins the NEA and the humanities grants every year. And at the time, you can go back and look at the historical stuff too, and it was the same things. It was kind of a racket, you know. While they're sitting there saying, "Oh, we want to give money to new media, podcasts, the future," they're giving a lot of money to, you know, like a university literary press that, you know, publishes 300 copies of their little booklet, pamphlet, their yearly review. maybe once or twice a year they publish it, 300 to 500 copies. The amount of money that was being given out, it was clearly to keep somebody employed. And being in a university town, I kind of know how that works, just from talking from people over the years. A lot of people have to go out there and hustle grants to sort of justify their position. And so, yeah, they're going to do everything they can to hold on to that dough, right? Because otherwise, then you got to look for a job somewhere else, right? So there was a bit of that. There's a lot of that. A lot of money going towards things that was like, wait, why so much money going to a publication that prints off 300 to 500 copies, and they probably the vast majority they're sent to university libraries where they sit around and collect dust. So there was that. And yeah, the websites were just ridiculous, arcane, old, confusing. The rules, printed off the rules. Oh my God. All the codes and stuff you had to enter. And then what's it for? You didn't get an award. You thought you had all your ducks in a row. And if you think that's bad, state grants. I'm not going to go too deep into that. Don't bother with it. The state grants, I mean, they're going to fund the puppet show every year. They're going to fund the marionettes. They're going to fund whatever. And that's fine. That's fine. The puppet show's got to get funded somehow. But, if you're a musician, unless you're, playing that sort of NPR bluegrass, unless you're like that, like if you new music, electronic, avant-garde, it's anything electronic, scared of synthesizers. We're scared of synthesizers. It's about it. I just found it to be about as anti-progressive as could be. And yeah, I tried don't do it. Don't do it. But the one win that we did get was the Google grants, and they were handing that out like candy back when it first started. I think it was around 2008 or so, something like that. And so what that did was you were able to advertise your nonprofit through Google AdWords. And they gave you a lot of money, in-kind money, not money, but free advertising, which is why it's all diluted down these days, online advertising. Hold on. Online advertising is just, everyone's got ad blockers, and it's just it's been ruined, right? And the amount of money, $150 in free advertising if you sign up for. Why is it $150 now, right? So I got on that, and that was actually a good thing because you could. I learned how to use Google AdWords, AdSense, all that stuff. I built ads, and you try to filter out everything so that you get quality hits, people that are actually interested in your stuff, rather than burning through the award, which was a daily award. It was around $330 a day in free advertising. It was really, really generous. And it was fun for a while. And then after several years, Google started, you could tell that they didn't want to deal with it anymore, because the people that you were in contact with, if you had questions, it kind of became impersonal. And then Then they had all these rules that you had to follow. It was almost like it's like all the ex-Apple people showed up on the scene, and they were going to destroy this through bureaucracy. So you had to your ads had to meet certain criteria for success, and which essentially the rules became so onerous that you had to spend literally your entire day tweaking things, and that otherwise you're going to lose your grant. And then after a while, after several years of that, I was just like, let it go. It's not. There's no indication that we are getting listeners because of Google ads, even though I have crafted them and I try to use good keywords and try to promote certain episodes and things like that. And I had to let that go. It was typical Silicon Valley craziness. It started off great, really nice, and it ended up a bureaucratic nightmare. Not worth it. Not worth it. Oh, I'm getting $330 a day in free advert. No, not worth it. Not worth it. Don't do it. So that was like the end. That was like the complete total end of me dipping my toe into the grant world. Google grants, state grants, NEA. So whenever I hear artists go on and on about, oh, the government's cutting grants or whatever, I'm just like, good. What a nightmare. What a nightmare. It's the old boys club, but in the arts. I mean, once you've seen it, sorry if I'm stepping on your, if you don't like what I'm saying, but that's what I saw. So I think it's better for the artist to do other things. And that would be understanding the business side of fine art and the music business, and to completely just get out of that notion. I'll use another example here. For a long time, many years, decades, I thought about low power FM radio stations. I've been reading up on it over the years, and now I know that it's partly an anachronism in the day of digital radio and streaming and all that sort of stuff. But on the other hand, you also had entities like NPR harassing everybody on the left side of the dial. So if you were an organization, say in a certain size town or a big city, and you wanted to create a low power FM radio station, which eventually the FCC was kind of cool about, but for a long time, but if you were like like language, like certain ethnic groups would want to have a language, low power FM station for their community, or they would have certain interests in the community, certain kinds of music, that sort of thing that they would want to broadcast. And maybe they had the sort of the grant infrastructure to go for it. Well, getting that sort of stuff set up is a total nightmare. And even if you've got grants, and even if you've got companies contributing, sponsoring, but then along comes NPR, and they just, it doesn't even matter how good of a broadcast transmitter that you have. They're going to complain to the FCC, whether or not it's true. There's so many stories out there, and they get all the grants, and then they act like a bully. It's sad. So you see these little groups Little groups, the little people, and they can't even get a little bit of spectrum over there on the far left side of the dial, you know. So I mean, what's there? What's in that between 88 and 92, right? NPR, and maybe a university station or two, maybe a Christian station. That's about it. But that bird's flown. Those days are over. Those days are over. Everything's online now. Everything is streaming, you know, and that's a whole different. Times have changed. So give up. Yeah, but even some nonprofits are you know, grant related or grant dependent can be nasty. Why? Why must you have an empire? So yeah, I'm kind of disillusioned about all that sort of stuff. But I do believe that artists should understand the business side. You know, whether it's fine art, whether it's music. You know, I talk about this all the time. I talk about how fine artists should be trying to get into things like the Art Business Academy, which is run by Jason Horsch, the owner of Xanadu Gallery. I went through it. I learned a lot, right? I got into a gallery. I'm not in a gallery anymore, but I got into a gallery. I've learned I've learned a lot of things that art school never taught me and would have never have taught me, right? 18 months of classes or segments in there. It was great. I don't know anything else out there that's like that. And it wasn't that much money, but I learned a lot about the art biz, and I'm still trying to contribute to it. So I'm not jaded, right? I'm not jaded on that. The other thing is that, you know, artists need to know, and I would say this about fine artists here, they need to know where their work sells the best. You know, does your kind of art sell the best online, you know, or is it meant for galleries? Is it meant for juried shows? All that sort of, how do you find that out? Everyone's still trying to figure that one out, right? Like, galleries are a problem these days just because of, you know, but online, you know, I started off at Etsy. I think I started off at Etsy. I've had my paintings here and there. And now I'm at eBay. As you can see here, I have my eBay store. But, you know, that's just where they are. That's just where they are. And anyway. All right. Musicians. What should the musicians know? The musicians should know their industry. And if you don't know how to get, starting off with, you know, writing a song, distributing it, publishing it, getting it onto a streaming service, and then collecting every kind of royalty that you can on the backside. If you don't know how that works, then you need to learn how that works. And for me, it was a many-year process. And so that's why I recommend using Songtrust for global royalty collection. I've been with them now since August or September of 2019, and they've been good. They've gotten me money that I would have never been able to get if I hadn't signed up with them. Just the way the music industry was and is. So I really appreciate that. And I just discovered them last year. After I was like, oh, there's foreign mechanicals, there's foreign royalties. How do I get that? Oh, I've got to sign up with more than 50 different foreign societies and send all my titles and codes. How do you do that? This is how you do it. And it doesn't cost much. They take a back end cut. It's not that bad. What do you mean not that bad? They do all the work. They earned that buck. Right? You should be part of a PRO. Right? Something like ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, whatever, which one. I got on with ASCAP in 2002 because I think they were free at the time, and stuck with them ever since. They're fine. Is there a difference? You're going to spend months trying, well, I should go with ASCAP for this and BMI because of this, or maybe I should go with CSAC. Pick one. Pick one and be done. Get on with it. Because without a PRO, then you can't get into here. You got to get a PRO first. I should have had that in a different order, right? And then just the whole distributor thing. I'm not even going to get into that. That's another thing. So where do you learn about all that stuff other than like rambling people like me who have made tons of mistakes along the way? Or you got all these other videos on YouTube, all these people with, kind of British accents, they sound like they know what they're talking about, right? I've seen a lot of those videos, and yeah, they're mostly correct. Yeah, don't just listen to rambling me. Then there's books. I read an earlier edition of this, the All You Need to Know About the Music Business by Don Passman. And it's good. It rambles a bit, but it's all in there. But, just don't try to read the whole thing at one sitting. Little chunks. It's like everything that you need. It's fine. I've thumbed through it in the past. But I also think that, watching YouTube videos of people talking about different aspects of it, of the music industry, that's fine. Yeah, you can get these videos out here. It'll be like DistroKid versus Route Note versus CD Baby versus first. Yeah, they've all got their different. And I'll have a video about that eventually too. I've not talked about that in depth. Trying to think how many different distributors I use. 4, 5 distributors, something like that. I don't use them all. Some I just leave out there for whatever reason. That's another video. But the main thing is, if you're an artist, a musician, or a fine artist, and you get this idea, I'm thinking about maybe doing a grant thing or get back to the, don't do it. Don't do it. If you're not hooked into like a university system that can help you with that sort of stuff, or if you've never written a grant before, I took a class at the University of Iowa here on grant writing, got an A+. And then of course I read some of the other grant proposals that the kids, because I'm old and I was old then. And I was just like, these grant proposals are ridiculous. I was kind of like, these are never going to get approved. Oh my God. And then they would read mine, we would sort of workshop them or whatever. And they're like, boy, he's got his ducks in a row. I never got anything from it. Never got anything for it. I should have got an F because I failed. And I'd done everything. I'd done absolutely everything along the way. I thought, well, at least I get something, right? And it wasn't even it was just about getting the win or getting something on that. I wanted to try it. Put forth my best effort, but best effort wasn't good enough. Yeah. But if you're tied into a university system or a professional grant writer, that sort of thing, that is sort of your world, give it a shot. that's fine. But if you're just Joe Schmo, I just started painting pictures. I just started making music a few years ago. I want to, I have delusions. Bottle those delusions up. Learn about selling music. Learn about licensing music. Learn about all that sort of stuff first. Learn about where to sell your art. Make art. Make saleable art. It's easier. It's much easier. Anyway, that's it for today. Half an hour me rambling about this. It's good. It's probably good to hear somebody who tried and failed. That's all right. It was fun. It was fun. It was fun to see. Yeah, you never know, right? You never know. Because I've known a lot of people who've gotten grants over the years. And in some ways, yeah, you have to be tied. You have to be tied to the university system, or you have to be really dialed into the nonprofit world. You really have to be in that world, or just super lucky. But yeah, I would not. Artists shouldn't bother relying on grants. They should bother studying the industry and learning everything about it, and doing the best work that they can. I know that's kind of old fashioned, but that's what I ended up. That's what I ended up arriving at. So, all right. See you Tuesday. That's it for now.